Hi there BookTube, it's Eleanor here and it's time for a book haul. So the first books I want to show you, there's quite a few here, but the first ones I want to show you I'm really excited about and I'm a little bit addicted to. You may have seen in a previous book haul that I hauled a Knickerbocker Classics with Jane Eyre, and since then I have been stockpiling these editions because they are beautiful. So I have now picked up the Knickerbocker Classics version of Moby Dick, which I think looks gorgeous, and I just love that they've got these like elastics to keep the pages together. I just think they're really beautiful. They're flexi bound and I can't wait to read this later in the year. I've already got plans to be buddy reading this one. I also picked up the flexi bound Knickerbocker Classic of The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, which I also love the cover of. And finally, I also picked up Little Women by Louise May Alcott, and I think this is probably one of my favourite out of all of them. I just think this is beautiful. So I can't wait to get stuck into these at some point, and oh, I just can't wait to see them on my shelves. Next up, I have quite a variety of books, just books that I've picked up on a whim because I've heard about them or liked the sound of them. The first one is Purely Mercedes from Mercy's Bookish Musings. She said that this is going to be possibly her favourite book of the year, so I wanted to pick it up. It's called Romy Futch by Julia Elliott, and I just think it sounds really intriguing. The story is about a southern taxidermist who's approached to take part in some sort of scientific experiment to do with the brain, and I just think it sounds very different and very interesting, and so I can't wait to try this out, especially as Mercedes has given it such a high rating. Next up is a totally different end of the spectrum, and it's a YA contemporary romance called Magnolia by Christy Cook. This is set in the south of America, which I absolutely love books set in the south. It's about a girl and a boy, and I think they've been sort of pushed together by their families. They're from well-off families and they don't really like each other, but they're expected to. People want them to sort of get on. They've been destined to each other from birth, and it's just about them. And I'm sure there's going to be a romance in there somewhere. Next up, I picked up a couple of graphic novels. I'm continuing with the Nail Biter graphic novel series, which I absolutely adore. This is volume 4, and it's set in a town where serial killers seem to be coming from. Like, loads of serial killers originate from this town, and they're looking into the reasons why. I really enjoy the artwork for this, and I'm really enjoying the story. It's been a while since I read the other ones, and I've got them on my shelf, so I think I'm going to do a start from the beginning of the series and reread through and then carry on with book 4. Next was one I have seen a few times, and I decided I was going to take the plunge. It's called Beauty. I love the cover of this. I just think it's amazing, and it's by Jeremy Horn, Jason A. Hurley and John Rauch. I just think this is a really interesting premise. I'll read you the back. Modern society is obsessed with outward beauty. What if there was a way to guarantee you could become more and more beautiful every day? What if it was a sexually transmitted disease? In the world of the beauty, physical perfection is only one sexual encounter away. The vast majority of the population has taken advantage of it, but detectives Vaughan and Foster will soon discover it comes at a terrible cost. Now they'll have to find their way past corrupt politicians, vengeful federal agents, and a terrifying mercenary out to collect the prize on their heads. This collects the first 6 issues of the critically acclaimed pilot series. So I just can't wait. And I really loved the look of the artwork in here, so I can't wait to give this a go and see what I think. And then finally, I totally blame Nicole from Dorker Brain for this one. I was watching her channel. She'd picked up some new graphic novels on a haul, and it sounded great and I couldn't help myself, so I've picked up Southern Cross by Clunan, Balanga and Loffridge, and I just couldn't help myself. The artwork in this looks really interesting. It's got lots of different sort of colour palettes in it. There's some greens and blue. And the back says, now boarding Southern Cross tanker flight 73 to Titan. Alex Braith is on board retracing her sister's steps to Refinery Moon, hoping to collect her remains and find some answers. The questions keep coming though. How did her sister die? Where did her cabin mate disappear to? Who is that creep across the hall? And why does she always feel like she's being watched? Inspired by classic mysteries and weird fiction, Southern Cross is a crucible of creeping anxiety and fear as Braith struggles with the ghosts of her past on board a ship that holds secrets best kept buried. So I just think this sounds really intriguing. And finally, the final graphic novel that I've picked up is called Injection by Ellis Shalvey and Belair. I saw this as a recommended on my Amazon, I think it was, or Goodreads, and I liked the look of the artwork, and the story sounds really great. It says, once upon a time there were 5 crazy people and they poisoned the 21st century. Now they have to deal with the corrosion to try and save us all from a world becoming too weird to support human life. Injection, in this new ongoing series by the acclaimed creative team of Moon Knight from the Dead, it is science fiction, tales of horror, strange crime fiction, techno thriller and ghost story all at the same time. So that just sounds brilliant and I can't wait to try this one. Then I have some random books. I finally picked up Scent of Triumph by Jan Moran. I saw this on Jenny King's channel and I just thought it sounded great. I really love anything to do with perfume and perfume making and the idea of scent, and when she described this book it just sounds really brilliant. It's an historical fiction book set in 1939 about a perfumer, and it says a novel of perfume and passion, so I can't wait to try this one out. The next book I picked up is an adult sort of romance chick lit, I suppose you would call it, or women's fiction or whatever they call it now. It's by Jenny Colgan. It's The Little Shop of Happily Ever After, and from what I can gather it's about a lady that up sticks and ends up opening a travelling bookshop on a bus. Maybe in Scotland. I just think it sounds really fun, and it's a book about books, so I couldn't resist giving it a go. The next book you may have seen in a lot of people's channels recently, but I just wanted to pick it up too, and it's Sleeping Giants by Sylvain Neuvel. I just think this cover is really, really beautiful. From what I can gather about this, it's about a girl who goes on a bike ride. She falls down a hole and ends up sort of falling onto a giant metal hand, which belongs to sort of a giant robot type thing. And then we skip, I think, to her as a grown-up, where she's a scientist, a doctor in science, and maybe we find out more about that. I think it's sort of science fiction-y. I just think it sounded intriguing, and I'm really looking forward to giving it a go, and it's such a beautiful book. And then the final book I picked up is because I am desperately searching for a new series to replace Jill Shalvis' Lucky Harbour series. I've now finished it and I need something new in my life to help me fill the gap. So I'm going to try this one. It's book 1 in a series by Susan Mallory. It's called Chasing Perfect, and it's a Fool's Gold romance. It's set in a little town called Fool's Gold, a place where apparently men don't intend to stick around much. They're lured by the big city. It's about a city planner and a ex-professional cyclist she meets in the town, and romance ensues, and I really hope this is going to be the new series for me, so fingers crossed. So that's the books I've bought recently. Have you read any of these? Can you recommend any of these? What are your thoughts? Let's chat in the comments as always, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.